Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. And yes, folks, we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, the usual disclaimers. You are going to see the link to this letter we're reading today right there in the description box, alongside the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject. Plus templates, you know the drill, folks. Sign your name, click on your senator. In the ever-present, self-explanatory Change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. Folks, when we talk about the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones, alright? Now, it's 4:45. I'm brain dead. You know the drill. So I stumble over my words. Apology in advance. Okay, so this is from Jill Gentile. Remember, this is to the New York Senate. Dear Associate Commissioner Gentile, we are the parents of severely disabled adults from New York residing at the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, JRC. So we already know what side they're on, right? As soon as they start using those functioning labels like that, yeah. Most of our children are funded by the New York State Office for People with Developmental Disabilities, OPWDD, and the remainder are in the final years of New York special education, finding and will be eligible for OPWDD with funding within the next 2 years. Our children suffer with severe behavior disorders that cause them to engage in self-mutilation, violent aggression, or other behaviors that have caused serious harm, in some cases have even threatened their very lives. Here we go again. See, they're doing it. They want you to know there's the severe. They're the worst of worst. This is what you need. I'm sorry if quote unquote severe was actually a thing or unsevere. They still don't need to be shocked to death, okay? Just saying. Our children were not effectively treated or cared for in the New York placements, including the New York hospitals, and they were experiencing intense pain and physical deterioration until their New York school districts placed them at the JRC. Here we go. Most of our children have been residing at the JRC for many years. They have all received effective behavioral treatment at the JRC, which has kept them safe and very healthy. Safe. Did you see the Andre McCollins video? Does that look safe to you? Coming from a pure medical standpoint, watching that video, and then you're going to tell me they're safe, happy, and healthy? Sure, Jan. They have made more behavioral, medical, educational, vocational, and social programs at JRC than we thought possible. Fucking really? Tell that to the New York report, because they beg to differ. Our children at JRC range in age from 19 to 42 and have lived at JRC for 20 to 30 years. Oh, fuck me, you left them in that hellhole? Discredited immediately. After spite of everything you fucking know. You have kids in there probably from the time when those 6 kids were dead. Lady, you need your children removed from you immediately. This is like Britney Spears' dad, Jamie Spears level insanity. At JRC, our children have found a safe place to live and thrive, if you call that living. To our knowledge, JRC is the only program equipped to effectively treat our children and keep them safe within its 24-hour intensive behavioral supports, trained staff, expert medical services, and proven capability to address the targeted behavior disorders. In other words, you're completely okay with the fact that your kids are being shocked, sleep deprived, and being starved. All of this is okay for you. We visit our children often, as we did when they were suffering in the ineffective New York programs and hospitals, and we have seen for ourselves JRC's ability to keep our children safe and healthy as compared to the dire conditions they were previously placed in New York. Spare me. Remember when they told them that they make the kids dress up and everything for Visitors Day? Mm-hmm. As a group, we have seen countless programs in New York that have attempted to treat our children, and none of them have been a success. They've often resorted to sedating, restraining, and or isolating our children, which had caused them great pain and suffering and allowed for no quality of life. So you call what the JRC does quality of life. Really? Though it is effectively behavioral therapy, JRC has been able to stop our children's dangerous behaviors without heavy doses of sedating drugs or restraint, which has given our children their first chance of life and safety to spend quality time with their families, get an education, learn a job skill, and become integrated into the community. What bullshit! The JRC doesn't have any transition programs. The New York Department of Special Education has gone in there. Okay? In spite of what the JRC are telling you, it's not true. They're not teaching your children shit. They're not doing anything to prepare them for the real world. And the fact that you actually believe this, I don't know if I feel sorry for you or what. But you've got no place raising children if that's the place that you think it is best for them. And if you have a kid in there that is 42 fucking years old, way past the age they should have aged out of the system a good goddamn long time ago, then obviously it's not really working, is it? In February 2011, 2 years ago, WPWDD sent each of us who had an adult children residing at the JRC a notice that OPWDD was partnering with unidentified New York providers to develop services in New York that would meet our children's needs. Oh, yes, God forbid they do something where they don't have to be tortured every day. The horror. The same notice was sent to those of us who have children residing at JRC will be aging out of the New York special education funding within the next 2 years. However, OPWDD has yet to identify the New York providers that have developed an effective behavioral program that addresses the unique behavioral needs of our children and could manage their dangerous behaviors without resorting to heavy dosage of psychotropic medication, restraint, and isolation. They do like to throw that medicine around, don't they? This is why I always think they're on the same level as the anti-vaxxers, more willing to fly into pseudoscience, because they state this line over and over and over again, and it's garbage, and we all know it. But moving on. While a few parents have been contacted by a New York provider, in each case the provider was not knowledgeable about the needs of the child and did not have a viable plan for providing effective services. Oh, so they're not going to torture your kid. They're not going to put them through ABA because it doesn't fucking work. And that makes them the bad guy. Again, why are you continuing to have children again? And safely as JRC is so successfully doing. Successfully my ass. Successfully my fucking ass. If you call turning your kid into the catatonic fucking robot, sure, it's successful. That's what you call a happy life. Put a fucking bullet in my head. The only concrete information that OPWDD has given to us is that Governor Andrew Cuomo has ordered the agency's leadership to return all of our children to New York by June 2014, at which all OPWDD funding of our children at the JRC will stop, as it fucking should. It should have stopped decades ago. If we do not accept the New York's placements to be offered to us by OPWDD, then OPWDD will immediately end funding at the JRC. OPWDD has also told us that our children may again be subjected to heavy doses of dangerous sedating medications if our children's dangerous behaviors return after they leave the JRC. Fuck me. It seems to us that OPWDD only's priority is that they comply with the arbitrary order of Governor Cuomo that all of our children must return to New York by June 2014, regardless of the needs and regardless of the risk of irreparable harm that such a move may cause to our extremely vulnerable children that you leave in that hellhole to be tortured, starved, sleep deprived. Fucking spare me. Merciless! Merciless! We're horrible people for wanting kids to not be tortured, folks. The merciless mandate is, of course, countered and directly violate of OPWDD's responsibilities. Oh yes, parents, please fucking tell trained medical professionals what their duties are. As often quoted by OPWDD, the Office for Department of Developmental Disabilities is responsible for identifying and providing appropriate service in the least restrictive setting possible to New York residents with developmental disabilities who have aged out of the educational and child care system. Yeah, that's what they're doing, Jan. OPWDD's vision for your child, as well as all individuals we serve, is to enjoy meaningful relationships with family, friends, and others in our lives, experience personal health and growth, and live in a home of their choice, and fully participate in the communities. Our mission is to help people with developmental disabilities live richer lives. Oh, but they're the bad guy. How horrible. They want us to not hate our lives. How terrible. If the OPWDD moves our children back to New York by June 2014, it will deprive them of the JRC's appropriate services. Fuck me. And least restrictive community setting. Bullshit. It's an institution. You parents need to fucking understand this. I don't care how they paint up their fucking walls. It's an institution. Period. And you are setting your kids up to be tortured and then telling people it's saving their lives. Who the fuck are you? Moving on. Our children's lives are richer now at the JRC, particularly when compared to the pain, injury, and sorrow they previously experienced while admitted to the ineffective programs of New York and were drugged into submission, as opposed to the harm the JRC does. Really? Watch the Andre McCollins video. In multiple letters sent to each of us in the past 18 months, including February 18th, 2011, October 24th, 2012, and February 25th, 2013, OPWDD stated its commitment to quality adult services in New York and expressed their intent to transition our children away from the JRC. Okay, so this is going to be a long one. But I think we actually get the gist of this, right? We're getting the gist here of what they're trying to do. They're trying to make themselves seem reasonable, don't they? Don't they? That we're the bad guys, that the treatment works, but when we know for a fact that it doesn't work. If it did work, why the fuck is your 42-year-old kid still there? If they had such wonderful transitioning services, why are they not out there in the real world on their own right now? It's garbage. And you know it's garbage. And on that note, folks, I'm going to close out this evening. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So, folks, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this evening. As always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.